post it on Twitter because the fact that I started so messy, I haven't posted yet.
Oh, okay.
But again with Jacob.
Hello,
Jacob, you were
hello.
really busy recently. You were not responding to my messages, and
Yeah, well, I've been writing code, and that is you just sort of keep doing it until it works. You can see what we've been working on, which is two things. I completed a refactor of RocksDB support for Cosmos that uses RocksDB v7 instead of 6. Might give us a little performance boost, might do nothing. We won't know until I play with it some. Um, and we're also implementing a thing called PebbleDB so that we can judge performance differences specifically between RocksDB and PebbleDB um, going forward. Because we've made a lot of speed improvements in the past year on the Cosmos stack generally, um, but there's a lot more to go, a lot more to do.
Mhm.
And both the RocksDB implementation and the PebbleDB implementation are part of that.
so
Mhm.
so the major work was the Cosmos chain. You were working on the Cosmos chain,
Oh no! So this is
right?
for
No.
all of Cosmos. If the PebbleDB stuff works the way that I think it will, it'll hit nearly every chain.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that what I believe it's going to do is perform like RocksDB, but not require the use of what's called CGO. CGO is a layer that sits between Go applications and applications written, say, like in C or Rust or V, and allows for them to interface with each other. And CGO, as is famously stated, is not Go. So the thing is, since CGO is not Go, even though RocksDB, which is written in C, is super fast, right? Um, you lose. It just basically boils down to CPU overhead when you interface with a C application and you're writing Go code. And all of Cosmos, pretty much with the exception of Cosmwasm contracts, currently written in Go. Oh, and Nomic. Nomic is primarily Rust and just uses Tendermint at the consensus layer. So um, that's where I've been and what I've been doing. And I also started work on an osmosis constitution because I think that going forward, all right, what we've learned about governance is that it doesn't have limitations, right? I still support Prop 4, 16, 17, and just generally kind of containing the whale force on Juno.
You know,
Um, mhm.
sorry to stop you here, but it's a
Yeah,
good moment because you learned me, despite the fact that I do not support me, is that I do not support the burning and stuff like this. I understood through you that these proof of stake chains are not money, and that's actually important. That it doesn't, like, it's, don't try to look at this like the money, that we're taking away money, because we're not taking away money, because this is not money. It's something different, right?
yeah.
So
However, so I like to talk about them not being money, but then I was speaking with Sonny Argawal the other day. We had a lengthy Twitter DM session.
mhm.
And to you, what is it, right? And he said, well, it's the future of money, in that the monies are being debased, they're being inflated away, and it's going to make sense to, for example, pay for a major good with like your Apple shares, and Osmo, is much closer to that. Of course, it's also not that, right? Like, for example, the total supply of osmosis is constantly increasing, right? If we look at Apple shares, they don't work that way. The Apple Computer Company is not, it's not a computer program or a decentralized network, but parallels can be drawn, right? And this conversation was actually about the Juno whale. Well, specifically Prop
With Sunny, with
16.
Sunny.
Yeah, yeah. And what we were going around on, sort of, what is money? What are Cosmos assets? And then also we touched on like what should user rights look like. Interestingly, he told me, well, I just assumed everybody would treat it like Bitcoin, and I'm really staunch on that perspective. And I shared with him, well, man, like, so I am too, but on Bitcoin. When I look at the governance implementation, I think, well, gee, governance is primary here, right? And so what we have here is a divergence in, I'm pretty comfortable with saying, that Sunny is, a clear community lead in osmosis, and certainly should be. And that, like, if he continues to lead in that fashion, then the osmosis standard on stuff like Prop 16 is going to change away from what seems to be the Juno community standard on stuff like Prop 16. And on so basically, what I've done so far, if you look on the Osmosis Commonwealth, I've drafted kind of like the opening to a constitution for the chain. And one of the things that it does is prohibit behaviors like Prop 16. And basically, like, is attempting to enshrine like a set of definitions on the chain. What is a validator? What is a seed phrase? What is a private key? What is an account? What is a node? Stuff like that. And then, after defining all these different elements, breaking down into like what functional roles, responsibilities, rights, different participants in the ecosystem have. I'm also talking with Greg Landua from Regen about this. And, for Dig, well, I always had the feeling that we would have multiple constitutions. I've had this feeling really for a long time now. I mean, maybe a year. And, even for Dig, I'll go so far as to say I wouldn't be surprised if Dig ends up adopting like a foreign national constitution, such that it matches the body of law that it exists in. Because remember, Dig won't be just one chain, right? So like when we complete this British Virgin Islands stuff, that will become another blockchain. The reason for that is that any jurisdiction, right? BVI, Venezuela, Poland. Actually, we couldn't do anything in Venezuela because of sanctions, but like a bunch of countries around the world, right? Each has their own incompatible policies, especially with real estate. And so, like, we're going to contain jurisdictional variances in a blockchain. Anyhow, I'm trying to create a modular constitution, beginning with osmosis, but then, hopefully propagating to other chains, that spells out probably most especially user rights, so that there's a little bit more clarity on stuff. It's similar, I guess, to that 191 that I wrote, which like really was not too big or kind of not 191. Maybe the 199 one thing is the one that says, "Hey, governance proposal for 3 days before change."
Mm-hmm.
And okay, and that was already a standard. And like I knew I was violating so standard when I created Prop 180. Okay, but I thought, oh, it's social standard, it's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
lot of people not think that. Okay.
Mhm.
And so, I felt like the course of action was that a hard and fast rule. That, nobody in the situation that I was in were like, I'd have thought people cared so much. Absolutely. We'll put it on Commonwealth first, but did not think really about that or about also second order effects, just like of, creating an engineering need through the GovProp. I hadn't considered that either. So that's kind of where all that went. But we were going to talk today about decentralizing validator
Yes.
sets.
Before,
And
because
you
can I just stop
socialism.
for? I'm sorry. I did, but I heard you mention the Greg from region, right? Just one thing, because I didn't want to lose it. So there was something like the allocating the community pool, because I had this discussion with someone into osmosis becoming the carbon neutral, right? Was it something like this?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm
I'm pretty
and
vocal
the
about.
question is, the question I have is, what's the carbon footprint of the osmosis tanks?
I
It's
can tell
basically few
you.
households.
No. So
Okay.
the peer-to-peer network is around 3,600 machines as of the last time I saw a count, and the last time I saw a count was a couple of hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we take that, we multiply that by the number of watts per node,
Mm-hmm.
which we're going to use a high estimate and say 200. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we take 3,600, then we multiply it by 200, and then we get 720,000 watts. Okay, which is, I mean, that's considerable.
But my assumption is those proof of stake chains, they are like the carbon footprint is so low that actually trying to make it carbon neutral and playing these games is just waste of time. Like, we have mines all over the world. Like,
No,
you know.
it is a waste of time. Is I'm strongly opinionated on this matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, as a second order effect, it's a waste of to create these mechanisms in osmosis. But I'd like to be kind of stronger on this. The thing that is a waste of time is assigning economic value to something that is terribly difficult to account for. Okay, this is a neutral position on, say, like global warming and science and stuff like that, and it keeps us out of it. Okay, and it also this collates all of my experience dealing with like blockchain carbon credits and stuff. Okay, and the key issue there is we don't care at all if it causes global warming or anything like that. Okay, let's say this is not a concern for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say instead our concern is merely an economic. Okay, so we're
Mm-hmm.
only concerned with those. We don't care if temperature goes way down the planet, right?
By
The
the way,
trouble.
sorry for stopping you. Your network
Mhm.
connection seems to be below average right now. Not
Oh,
sure.
geez. Let me see if
Okay,
I can do anything
it's
about that.
improving
Okay.
slightly now. But yeah, for
Well,
last 3
hang
minutes,
on here. All right.
wonder if there is something. Just
Oh, there is something. There's always something. This moment here.
oh yeah, like that. Just someone just said that. Yeah, like it's that's what I meant. It's a little choppy. Seems Jacob dropped now. It shows me the connection is 0. But he will come back. He dropped, so I assume he will come back in around a minute, and then his connection should be just fine. So I will use this time to thanks everyone for being on this chat. The main topic that we will dive into at some point is the yeah I'll tell you. So we will use it to discuss trying to decentralize validator set. There was the proposal recently that meant to allocate more rewards to the bottom validators, which I'm opposing. The Jacob is pro this. Sorry for being too frozen, but some people were actually saying to me that I speak too much and I cut off my guest. So now I'm trying to not cut off and I'm listening. So sometimes that's why I don't move. And now Jacob is back, and connection
All
of
right.
Jacob is also on point now.
Oh, good, 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 good. Okay. I just had to tweak a few network settings there. All right. So, where were we? We were talking carbon credits. That's right. And so, like, really, the key issue there, the only issue that I think is relevant, is that carbon is actually very difficult to account for. Because it's very difficult to account for, you're assigning economic value to something that's not real clear. So, first of all, I will say, Martin, osmosis does not have an insignificant carbon footprint, um, nor does any global network system. Okay. Uh, like, in fact, my office produces quite a bit of e waste. Um, you know, we.
What I rather mean on the global scale, that is barely
Mhm.
noticeable, but one could argue, hey, get thousands of such offices, and that's noticeable, right? But yeah,
Well, no, it's not even that. I mean, we use a lot of computers, man,
hmm
and our computers are actually very very efficient.
hmm
Okay, so you would not find that any of our machines uses like more than average.
hmm
I want to be clear on this. Something I'm chronically dissatisfied with is just the amount of packaging and material and just wires and spare everything, right? That we go through here to do what we do. If an Ethernet cable is a little bit flaky or funny, I don't try to fix it. No, 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 no. I throw that thing out. Okay. Same with anything, hard drive, RAM, processor, anything that's even slightly
hmm
weird, especially if it's going to go in a validator.
hmm
Those systems have to be perfect, right? And so, well, as close to perfect as possible because nothing's perfect, but we want to make them damn good. And part of that is often pretty wasteful. Just
hmm
I want to just throw that out there. And all right, so Regen did the carbon thing with osmosis, and maybe it's fair to say that, well, I don't know about that bit. Okay, but I am very excited about Regen. Um, Interesting thing about Regen is their attempt over the long term to create not just an offset system, because the offset systems again, I'm genuinely kind of meh on those, and I have been intimately involved in their construction and design for a long time now.
hmm
And the main issue there for me is accountability, right? We use blockchains to make sure everything can be tracked super super well. Carbon by its very nature can't, but like Regen is, pursuing stuff that in my mind is really next level economic thinking. What I mean by next level economic thinking is that it's more harnessing capitalist energies to produce like clear social goods. Um, I think that's perfect. I think that this is the direction we want society to head in. We don't want society to head into like the control matrix of socialism where you don't have choices, or maybe even I should say, I don't know, I live very freely in a socialist country. Maybe I should say communism, right? Or even, comment that Vietnam's official economic policy is something called market socialism. I don't know, right? Because none of these terms actually has clear definitions, right? Um, but I can say, I like how things are here. Um, and maybe to like dig into this. So we were talking uh, socialism a moment ago. Oh, no, no, no. We don't do blue pill or red pill. No, both. Thank you. Um, and so, anyhow, like, let's get into the validator sense, right?
Yes.
Because
So what I said,
misunderstand.
is there was the proposal 191 that meant to encourage decentralization of the network by distributing slightly more rewards to the bottom set of validators. Is this correct, or I'm saying something? Yes.
Yeah, but let me change phrasing already.
And
Okay.
what I said here, that this reminds me of something that is called affirmative action, rewarding those on the lower um, positions of the economic ladder with more rewards, trying to equalize that. And I think that could lead to the more harm than good.
Okay, so the harm that's possible out of this is like sibling. Okay, so like somebody has a large validator, they break it down into several
Hmm.
small validators. Um, the good that can come of it though is pretty significant. I want to walk you through this.
Hmm.
So this is not all right. I had made two related proposals that were, quite frankly, way more socialist and could more easily be compared to like affirmative action or what have you. Okay. 191 was way better, but not super well worded. Okay. So we got a yeah, okay. Ready? We have a river, right? We have a river of basically inflation, right? That's created by the chain, and it's paid out not actually to the validators but to the delegators. Okay, and the validators remove well, we don't remove a commission from that. Actually, consensus does. Okay, so like validators are not in control of those funds at any time. Here's the deal: at the bottom of a validator set, there is higher risk. Let me explain. When it's not about the validator. So forget us, okay? Assume that all the validators are, extraordinarily well compensated. Now that's not true, okay? I actually I have concerns surrounding validator compensation for like the long tail of validators. So like definitely those who are at the low end of the set. But for the purpose of this discussion, I want you to assume that validators are all tremendously well compensated and we don't care about them at all. Okay?
One could argue like this. Well, if you take the number, what's the APR on osmosis right now? Close to 100 still.
Yeah.
Then you could take the Cosmos Station.
60-ish.
So then
Mm-hmm.
you could take the Cosmos Station, 14 million Osmo at 5% commission. So there would be around
Yeah.
10 million Osmo yearly. That 5% commission, half million Osmo, and that's like 3 million US dollars a year. Well, that's not great for number one validator. Maybe you're right, but one could argue
No,
that's a lot of money.
what I'm talking about with the long tail is
Yeah,
actually those at the bottom. Okay.
yeah, those. Yeah.
And there, but again, for the purpose of this conversation, assume that everybody is earning like Cosmos Station. Okay. Forget validator compensation. Now, if
Mhm.
you open up MintScan and you look, there's this column with increasing percentages on it. Okay. That's the total consensus vote power. What you're going to see for Osmo is that I forget how many it is to hit 33%, but that's how many it takes to stop the chain. I think it's like five to hit 33%.
Mhm.
Okay. Then there's another threshold number, that's 66%. Okay. 66% is what's necessary to literally corrupt the chain. Okay.
Hmm.
If you take over those validators, you find them, you torture them, you kidnap them, whatever, and grab their keys. Well, specifically, their block signing key. Okay.
Hmm.
So, not even like the seed phrase, like it's a little file that's used to sign blocks. You get that thing. Okay. And at that point, you become the chain. All of the other nodes will follow you. They have to
Hmm.
by consensus design. Okay. 191, and this wasn't super clear. Part of this can even be my fault because I was connecting it to proposals that dealt mainly with increasing validator compensation.
Hmm.
But 191 was mainly about securing consensus.
Hmm.
Right now, I think it's two nodes to stop Kava, okay, to make it stop producing blocks. They lose their top two validators, and that chain it will not.
That's
Um,
crazy. I used to be in Kava. Then I
oh,
actually,
Kava's awesome.
but
Listen, Kava, like we work with Kava, we do relaying for Kava. I think Kava is super, super good. We're stashing
yeah,
the Kava currency at Notional, and it's great. Okay,
and it's
and
cool.
actually, this is. Mhm.
It's quite cool because I feel like Kava doesn't get credit. They are very stable in price and they slowly working like towards it. I think the
Yes. Well, it's because they're extremely humble. I can
yeah
tell you how they introduce
I
themselves to us.
I like the CEO is Brian. Brian is the CEO. He's like very good face to be the CEO, right? Not tech
Yep.
guy, but the CEO guy, and the main dev is like on the other side working like forgot
So, I mean,
his
like the way that,
but
thing
yeah,
about
like two
them,
top validators on actually Kraken, 25% of voting power. Dear Lord,
mhm,
dear
yeah,
Lord, horrible.
yeah.
And
So,
participation 1 in 10. It's like
yeah.
top the top five validators have horrible participation.
Okay, but now we have to talk capitalism. All
Hmm.
right. Um, in capitalism, risk pricing is a real thing, right? Like
Hmm.
you price risk into your decisions especially when you're making financial decisions. And delegating to a validator, it's a financial decision. Okay. When you delegate to a low ranked validator, you take greater risk, but
Hmm.
you're also doing something good for the network because you're distributing stake. The risk of delegating to a low ranked validator, or like, say, like even to an inactive set validator, there are two validators that we're trying to bootstrap at Notional Labs that we don't have enough capital internally to fund fully. Okay. And that's Secret Network and Terra. All right. And so our nodes are up and running, and they're sort of waiting there for delegations. Now, why doesn't everybody stream in and delegate? I'll tell you why. Okay. It's because, first of all, before we reach the active set, okay, they won't earn anything by delegating to us. All right. They'll
Yeah,
lose
yeah.
those rewards. All right. But let's take it a step further.
So
Let's say,
let me stop you for a second. Like, sorry.
yeah,
So you have the note on Luna, right? Terra,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not in active set, right?
yeah.
How much you need to be in active set?
Whew. I do believe it is a couple $1 million worth of Luna.
Couple million
I
dollars.
don't know the exact number offhand.
How much will you pay
Um,
me if I land you in the act?
well, I don't know,
And
but actually, I'll be very very frank with you that that kind of community leadership is obviously really valuable to us,
is it
and
legal to ask you how much you will pay me if I send you to?
I think so.
I mean, it's not me. I'm not rich, but I have few
Well, I mean,
friends that are
let me put it
lunatics.
this way. I mean, obviously, uh, oh, you mean as a delegator? If it was your stake, it would probably would not pay you for that because that would look like a kickback. We can't. I wouldn't ever want to break what the protocol does in terms of our delegations. Now, you know, for people who promote us,
Yeah.
I am trying to figure out a way, and I know I've discussed this with
I
you, Mike.
Yeah,
Um,
I will speak to my friends. We'll see if I can delegate, convince them to delegate. Maybe if they will like send you to active, they could earn
okay.
rewards. So that's
Let me
fine
tell
too.
you the thing that we'd pay for real quick,
Yeah.
okay? Because like the thing that we absolutely would pay for is where like these two things come together. So there's raising the delegations and stuff, and that's awesome. But then in addition to that, every validator node comes with it like a commitment to the community. Um, it goes beyond the technology stuff, and we can operate, scale, and maintain the various tech related aspects of any of our validators. And we've actually come up with estimates that, like, even without growing the team too much more, we could probably operate another 100 validators. Would we be doing a lot more work and a lot more like chain upgrades and weird stuff like what happened with Juno? The answer is yes. Could we do it? Yes. But can we scale the human processes? Actually, no. Um, so that's the piece of it that we absolutely definitely, you know, can and would pay for, and you're now actually talking exactly to the type of representative role that we're looking for. And if you
Hmm.
want to pursue something like that, I'm super happy to discuss the arrangement because, you know, just to throw out another example, I do spend a lot of time on governance,
Hmm.
and it's not necessarily the correct thing to do. I think that at times it is, and at times it isn't, right? And that
Hmm.
for myself, I've kind of got to accept that I've now put myself in a place where I'm both an engineer and a politician, and just sort of have to deal with it, right?
Hmm.
I don't think I get to escape that, given, well, Notional gets elected, right? Um, But back to security and the decentralization of stake here for a second. So, risk pricing. Why does it make sense for the APY to be higher on lower ranked nodes? Well, fact is, they can fall out of the active set. Okay. So when you delegate to like rank 118 on Osmosis, and guys, if you go and look at my Osmosis validator, you'll see that we delegate to currently one other validator. Okay. They're called like C3R29. Thing is, these guys do like really cool stuff all around Cosmos, right? And I really wanted to see them in the active set, so I delegated to them when it looked like they were going to fall out of the active set, right? Well, they did. Okay, so now I have like 200.6969 Osmo. That that's no longer earning rewards because they fell out.
But you can quickly
Um,
redelegate that. Well, that's
yeah, I can redelegate it, but also the number of times you can redelegate is limited.
yeah.
So at this point,
Sorry, it's
I'll go
limited for the time you redelegating. So like once per 3 weeks, right? Or
once per 3 weeks and 7 times total. You
seriously?
can change. You can switcheroo it only 7 times total. Which is why in my tweet about using Notional Labs' stake to bootstrap other highly qualified validators into the Osmosis set.
Well, sorry, that's a
That's how I
concern.
wrote.
I'm
Mhm.
redelegating a lot. Like I'm actually like I'm seeing active validator I redelegate, and like I think I
Okay,
will run out of my tries
so
very soon.
yeah, we should. It's a parameter. We can check it on the different chains that we
Yeah,
use. Um, and I don't know it offhand because like many chains set this one differently, right? So like what I mean is I can't tell you for sure if Osmosis is 7 or if Juno is 7
but
or if the
then
Cosmic
sorry,
Hub is
but
7
then
or if I just forgot.
if I unstake, it's okay. I can do again, right?
Yeah, if you unstake that resets. Yep, yep, yep. That's
Yeah,
right.
okay,
But
okay.
like, you know, in fact, right now there's no position in Cosmos that I'd like to exit. Um, Even Huahua, I'm buying Huahua.
Hmm.
Um, I looked at like recent events in the community, and I looked the situation up, and I looked the situation down, and I'm like, they've done some interesting stuff. Their Cosmwasm stuff isn't. Yeah, Mad Cat, we need to check that. I think it's a parameter on the staking module. Um, I think it's called re-entries, by the way. And I
Vision, I'm understanding it better. We could call it as the certain tax because if you delegate to the
well, no,
bottom
it's not a tax.
validators,
It's not a tax at all.
yeah,
This is the thing.
but
It
if
is
you
risk pricing.
so you will get more rewarded if you delegate to the bottom validators, and once they, let's say, break top 50, they will lose that premium, right? And the premium circulates always. So let's say,
Actually, that's one part of 191 I wasn't sure about. Okay. Like, what I'm kind of
because there could
thinking.
be, sorry, there could be
Mhm.
very, like, the numbers could start circulating, the bottom validators start climbing up because of this, and once they enter up they should lose the premium, right? And it should always circulate to the bottom.
Um, well, I don't think that my feeling is it's probably easier to implement and like fairer if we were to make 191 like we just distribute an extra 20 Osmo per 24 hours across the validator set, because then it's also not unfair to the guys at the top. But the key piece, the risk pricing, stays intact. And that to me is very important. So, like, right now, there's people all over Cosmos who take the risk of delegating to low ranked validators. And since I talk to these people, I know for a fact, and by the way, hmm,
I do, like, I'm actually champing top validators when there's airdrop for premiuming, like giving premium for people who delegate to outside top 50. I'm into all of that.
yep, yep. Um,
I got dropped a few times already on Juno, and I on Juno was delegating to Messi, who got dropped. I think on
John, I
Cosmos,
don't have one on Iris yet. I'd like to. We certainly we relay for them, and I think we're pretty much primary there. Although I should say that Cephalopod, the informal systems infrastructure operations team, they've also been pretty active with Iris. They might have a validator there. But like, I'm a code contributor to Iris as well, and I would certainly love to put one up. I should look at what that costs, because depending on the price, it might be something that we can just swing or have to organize community around. We're okay. It's just beginning. It's a baby, but here it's like Juno, obviously. This one's not labeled, but it's Terra, and Osmo. Actually, right over here. Okay. And basically, we're gonna stack those on that shelf over there, and I want to fill the shelf. Um, so, sacrifice for pulse chain. I don't even know what pulse chain is.
oh, I didn't receive the comment. I tell you what it is.
Ooh,
Many people is like, they're quite culty. Have you ever heard of the Hex smart contract on Ethereum with its leader Richard Hart?
is it like that? Oh, no, no, no! I don't do that. I don't do that.
So he
I don't do
created
that.
the Pulse chain,
Yeah,
and they believe it's the greatest project ever, and
I
stuff like
realize
this.
that
So
people think that, and
yeah, yeah.
I don't recommend that anyone put a penny into it. It seems extremely risky from a number of dimensions, including the whole like literal cult thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
and people
so
already sacrificed billions of dollars, and they still think they're gonna make tons of money on that. I'm concerned about the valuation they would be aiming
Oh
at,
yeah, well, I
but
mean, it's an illiquid asset that I think they're
I
just
mean, good
basically
luck to
pumping
them.
praise
Good
to
luck to them,
inflation and
right?
stuff. Was that?
I mean, good luck to these people. So what
Good
it
luck to
is like,
everyone,
yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
It's a weird crypto, right? It definitely combines some aspects of like both investing and gambling. Um, you learn to be quite aware of risk. You know, from where I stand, the risk awareness is mainly technical, right? But of course, part of that is learning about economic risks as well. So back to technical and economic risks. Check it out. We need something Prop 191 esque because the capitalist market is broken. Okay, we don't price the risk in. And so the people who delegate to low ranked validators are subsidizing decentralization, but the protocol should do that to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that. Oh, Red Bull, the Thai version of Red Bull,
Yeah, you gotta have the time ripple. Oh
with no sparkles, disgusting shit.
yeah.
Right? Is the one with no sparkles? Am I correct?
No
Or this one
circle.
has? That does this one has sparkles?
Sparkles. What?
It's
It,
sparkling?
yeah, no, yeah, no,
No.
no sparkles. No
Yeah, yeah,
sparkles.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that
Yep.
for
Yep.
those who don't know, Red Bull comes from actually Thailand. Is the
Sure does.
it's slightly different than the Western one, but the origins are the same basically. Um.
Yeah, it's sugar and caffeine still.
So I totally get this point now. And I was thinking if there is also some other solutions because I would like to have the part. I think the validators I understand is difficult, but instead of doing this, maybe
Well, you shouldn't
rewarding
care
them
about.
more.
In this case, don't care about the validators. So that's the thing I really like about 191. 191 doesn't care about the validators.
Mm-hmm.
191 cares about consensus, cares about securing the chain, and it also cares about the delegators, which really gets to like the root of the issue. And when you look at, okay, so why are validator sets so damn skewed toward the top? Oh, this is a risk decision because those top validators are much less likely to fall out of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't price that risk in. We definitely should. Also, I think like overall, like for example, there's talk right now of like totally overhauling validator compensation by like making it an NFT. That this is out of Jaquan and the Gano project. I don't know. Okay, Jay's right about a lot of stuff, like to a shocking degree. It's perfectly possible he's correct here. Okay, thing that I'm going to say is for a few years now, we've had, these Cosmos networks and pretty much market driven consensus. I like that. That is to me like clearly good. And I don't know. The NFT idea is interesting. He also wants to like contributor gate Gano. So actually, I'll show that for a second. If anybody here is a skilled or even learning Go programmer, that's how you become a validator on Gno. There's code contributions. So throw that out there. Marcin, I should probably run. I should
Yeah,
probably get back to the code dungeon and figure out if the pebble has landed in the
yeah.
pool to make
Can
ripple.
can you give me 5 more minutes just
Oh yeah.
like to
Oh, yeah.
so
Totally.
Dokwon wants to launch Gno on Juno somehow?
Ah,
There was this
I
tweet.
think that's Jaquan. Okay.
I said
Gno.
Dokwon, right?
Yeah, you
Dokwon is
said Jaquan.
Terra. I mean Jaquan,
Yeah.
Jaquan. Sorry.
No, I
There
don't
was
think
some
so.
tweets. Like,
Yes.
did you see? And I
Like,
was like, what's going on here?
as we hang on, as we go forward and develop Cosmos and develop IBC specifically, we're going to be able to do weird shit like that. Okay, like for sure. Blending the economic security basis for different consensus mechanisms, like this is just a fact. Okay, and Osmosis is pioneering this with superfluid staking. I don't think it's widely recognized because really superfluid didn't have a huge increase on like people's staking income or their LP income. But what they don't realize is that osmosis is making the chain more secure. It's being put to work in two ways
Hmm.
simultaneously. That's a really big technical accomplishment. Now, um, like, I don't know, Juno could use GNO contracts, and I might even be responsible for him saying that because when Juno died, I kind of went on a rant to Jay and the other people in the GNO chat because, like, how do I put this? Juno died because you can't really check contract code. I mean, you can, but you can't. Okay,
Hmm.
it's not easy, and there's a hell of a lot more to it, right? And some of it is our fault as a development team leading Juno and all that good stuff. But like, um, the contracts aren't terribly transparent. You write them in Rust, compile them to WASM, upload the compiled WASM to the chain, but guys, that looks like chicken scratch. You can't read it. Um, you can't read it at all. Okay. And then if you want to know what a contract is doing, you can decompile it to C. Well, guys, we did. Okay. We did decompile it, and that's not readable either. So once you've diverged away from the source code, you can't really read the contract. GNO, it's interpreted contracts. They're not compiled. This is a big deal, in my opinion. And the reason that's a big deal is that what you see is exactly what you get. You're executing the source code, so like the auditability is enhanced. At the same time, like I'm not really sure that Juno needs GNO. I just think that like everybody needs GNO, right? And I also, because GNO is it's departing from a number of Cosmos standards, and really, to be frank with you, it's departing from a number of Cosmos standards simultaneously. Okay, I don't have a problem with this. I'm very glad to see the experimentation, but like, I guess what I mean is that it's pretty clear to me that COSM WASM is the Cosmos smart contract standard, and GNO, well, I don't know what it is yet. What I mean by that is, okay, look, I'm probably one of the 50 people in the world who knows what it is more clearly than anybody. But
I don't
what I
know
mean by
what.
I don't know what it is yet is like I don't know how it's going to be applied, and I don't know how it's going to play out over a 5-year timeline. Okay, with COSM WASM, I mean, honestly, yeah, I can tell you to some degree how it's going to be applied, how it's going to play out over a 5-year timeline. Like that is a technology that has caught on. So the bull case looks like the development of COSM WASM moves to a state where it's like not just Confio developing it, but a number of companies. And we can already see this happening, actually. Of course, Ethan is still driving it, and he should. The guy's absolute powerhouse when it comes to both software development and planning too. Like he anticipated a need for a thing that didn't exist and then built it over the course of years, right? Specifically like, oh, it's hard to upgrade the consensus of the chain. So we need a system that allows us to add features to the chain without changing consensus. Then he went out and he built it. This is big, guys. Like that, if anybody's questioning stuff like, oh, why did Osmosis Governance, choose to pay Confio so much to do this work on Osmosis to integrate CW? Well, that's why. Like, this is tremendously, tremendously valuable software. Um, and in the bull scenario, we see that play out over 100 chains. Okay. And then those chains have pieces of software that call pieces of software on one another and interact with one another, both in terms of user driven interactions and autonomously. So, like, okay, I can see that. And part of that I think is just because like I've been doing Juno, right? So because I've sort of seen where the contracts are going, I I have a clear vision of where that'll head. Now, Gno, I had to guess it's going to be easier to work with than CW. I think that the questions surrounding Gno are like, what kinds of applications get built and what sort of software frameworks pop up around it? And then also, how well does it interact with the rest of Cosmos IBC? And to what degree can we get out of some of the Cosmos performance pitfalls? Um, Guys, like Cosmos chains are not fast. Okay, they're secure as hell, but they're not fast. That's why we've been spending, I don't know, maybe the past, well, if it weren't for all the explosions recently, it would have been like the past week or two just on database performance. And if you check the osmosis issues, you'll see I've been working on it actually for months, mainly so that our relayers will work better. I Yes, security over speed every day, any day, especially for financial applications. But there's a lot that we can do to improve performance. However, Jay has taken, well, like it's, how do I put this? GNO is like genericized almost every piece of Cosmos, but then there's a programming language. I mean, I don't want to even for a second diminish the amount of work Jay has done. He may or may not know I've kind of been involved with GNO since the beginning, and like to see the progress and evolution there and know that it was mainly driven, by one person is pretty incredible. Because what he's now done is he's created an interpreted programming language for concurrent blockchain smart contract programming. That's big.
Yeah, that's probably impressive. To finish, I actually like wanted, because there was some talk about the validator cartel, but maybe I will leave it for the next time because it's a long subject, and I also have to go.
Yeah, well, you know what? We might as well leave that for the next chat. We even try to do it before the end of the week. I think it's Tuesday
Yeah,
now.
would
We
be
could
would be
shoot
really
for
good.
like getting one in on Friday. And by the way, if you wanted to talk about, that community leadership role thing, I'd like that very much. And thank you so much for
Yeah,
doing all these videos. And just so everybody knows, like, we're pursuing a commercial relationship with Marcin.
yeah,
We
that
do
could
not
be
have
like
one.
the little
He
patch,
hasn't
the
actually
notional,
made a
but
penny and just has like done all of this. And I want to say thank you. I
no,
appreciate
no
that very
worries.
much.
I appreciate you talking to me. You're like most active developer in the Cosmos that is willing to talk to me. So maybe I would be willing to put like a little notional icon here. Notional icon.
Are you getting an icon? All right. Well, guys, until next time, and
Yeah,
have a wonderful day, everybody.
yeah. Enjoy coding, Jacob. Thank you for your
Will
time.
do. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Catch you
Bye.
later.